you already know. That's the part no one talks about. Not the moment of realizing it's wrong, but the weeks and months you spend inside that realization, fully conscious, still staying. You wake up knowing. You go to sleep knowing. And somehow morning comes and you make 2 cups of coffee anyway. There's a particular kind of loneliness in that, being the only one who knows what you know and choosing every single day not to act on it. It doesn't feel like cowardice from the inside. It feels like love, or at least like the memory of love, which has a weight and a warmth that's almost indistinguishable from the real thing. Psychologists who study attachment sometimes describe something called the sunk cost of the heart. Not an official term, but a real phenomenon. The longer you have loved someone, the more your sense of self has grown around them, like a tree grown through a fence. You can't simply step away. You would be leaving something of your own shape behind. And so you stay, not because you haven't thought it through. You have, in the car, in the shower, on every long walk you've taken alone. You've rehearsed the conversation 100 times. You know the first sentence by heart. But knowing the sentence and speaking it are 2 completely different countries. And the distance between them is not logic, it's grief. Because leaving is not the end of loving. That's the thing people who haven't been here don't understand. Leaving would mean grieving them while they are still alive, still reachable, still sometimes exactly who you fell for. You'd have to mourn someone with a phone number, someone who might text you on a Thursday. That kind of grief has no clean ritual. No one brings you a casserole. There's also the version of them that still appears without warning. You're arguing and then something shifts. They laugh at exactly the right moment, or they touch your arm the way they used to, and for a few hours the whole thing lifts. You think, maybe I was wrong, maybe this is still real, and maybe it is. Or maybe you've learned to need those moments so much that your nervous system has started timing itself around them, the way a plant turns toward whatever light it can find. Dorothy Tennov, who spent years studying the biochemistry of romantic obsession, she coined the word limerence in 1979, found that one of its defining features is what she called intrusive thinking. The beloved floods the mind involuntarily. But what Tennov noticed, and what is less often quoted, is that limerence can persist even when the person knows, rationally, that the relationship is failing. The heart is not updated by conclusions. It is updated by experiences, slowly, reluctantly, on its own timeline, which means staying isn't always denial. Sometimes it's the honest acknowledgement that you are not ready to stop loving them yet, that the knowing and the feeling are not in the same place, and you are trying every day to close the distance, not between you and them, but between what you understand and what you can actually bear. There's also something that happens to your identity inside a long relationship. You have become, in part, a person who loves this person. The stories you tell about yourself include them. The habits you have were shaped around them. The route you drive home, the side of the bed, the way you've learned to cook for 2. Leaving would mean editing yourself in ways that are hard to see until you're doing them, alone. And the silence has a different texture than you expected. And underneath all of it, under the sunk cost and the grief and the biochemistry, there is something simpler and more human. You are still there because some part of you is waiting to be surprised, waiting for something to shift in a way that would make it all make sense again. Not a miracle exactly, just a morning where it doesn't feel like this. You're not deluded, you're hoping. And hope is harder to diagnose than delusion because sometimes it's right. The philosopher Simone Weil wrote that attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity. She wasn't writing about relationships, but she might as well have been, because what you are doing, Sitting inside all that ambivalence, refusing to go numb, continuing to feel it, is a form of attention, a refusal to close early, a kind of faithfulness, not just to them, but to the full weight of what you've had and what it has cost you to have it. None of this means you should stay. That's not what this is. Some things do end, and the staying only makes the ending longer and quieter and more expensive. But you don't need to be told that. You already know it. What you might need is someone to say that the knowing and the leaving are not the same thing, and the gap between them is not a flaw in you. It is what it feels like to have loved something real. At some point, not when you've made peace with it, because that may take years, but when the weight becomes something you can no longer distribute, you will go. And when you do, you will understand that you didn't stay because you were weak or confused or afraid, though you were probably all of those things. You stayed because you were human, because you love them, and because love, when it's real, doesn't leave the moment you know. It leaves slowly, the way light does.